got here and I left my notes, so I had to go back to the house. Good morning, good morning, good morning. On this beautiful Sunday morning, I apologize. I'm running behind. I got halfway here and realized I left my notes at the house and had to go back to the house and get my notes. But yeah, we made it. And, today's lesson on this Sunday after Easter is from lesson 9. I think I saw Reverend Davis outside, so I will go ahead and open us up in a word of prayer. So let us bow our heads. So Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you again for this day, Father God. We thank you for your wisdom, your knowledge, and your guidance. And Father, we pray that you just lead us through this word of study today, that we may gain something from your word to help us through our journey of life. So we ask all these things in your Son, Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen. So our lesson today was out of the Unit 2. And I want to stop right there because I just want to thank God for bringing me through a surgery this week. You know, we talking on the call this morning about giving praise. I just want to thank God because anytime you go on anesthesia, even though it might be a minor surgery, that you want to thank God because He brought you out of something where you had no control of your body whatsoever. You counting on somebody else to wake you up. So I just thank Him for bringing me through that, and the pain has been bearable. And hopefully it'll straighten this situation out in my hand, and I'll get back to the full use of it. Again, our lesson today is out of our Unit 2, which is talking about Christ's all-sufficient sacrifice. And we've gone over several lessons there. We're talking about now that Christ has come, we no longer have to have the blood sacrifice. We have one sacrifice that is permanent, that's been done for good. We don't have to keep going back and doing a sacrifice. The general lesson title for today was "The Lamb is Worthy." And we know what that Lamb we're talking about is Jesus Christ. And the topic today is sing a new song. And that's going to get down into the lesson where we talk about singing a new song. And because when Christ came and died upon that cross and made a once and forever sacrifice for us, we know that was something new had been done. So that was a new song to sing. You couldn't sing the old songs of old because something new had happened. And this lesson today we're going from Revelations chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. And I don't know about you, but growing up, we always thought about Revelations as being the story of doom and gloom and how the world's in. And then I've come to learn in my studies here lately that Revelations is much more than that, man. There is so much to be gained from Revelation. There's promises made to us in Revelations. There are things God given to us in Revelation. And so as I was going through my study here and looking at this, I found definition of the word of revelation, which is also another term for apocalypse. And it came from the Greek word, and it was two Greek words used together, apo, which is and kaluptin, which was to uncover. So the word apocalypse in the Greek language was mainly it was something to uncover and to reveal. So what Revelations were done for is, instead of being an apocalypse, it's unveiling the truth that God has said to us. Because in His truth, in Revelations, He's revealed to us that the battle's already won. That's the truth that's in there. He's revealed to us that Christ has already received victory. And that all the things we've struggled, we're going to go through this life, it does. Even though we might trial for a while, we have that victory in the end. So I've come to have a new understanding and a new appreciation for the book of Revelations and what it means, because as I said, it tells us in the story that the battle's already won. We just got to live it out. We got to walk through what's going through, but he's already taken full control. So when Christ came, the veil was ripped, he went to the bowels of the earth, he conquered death, so we might have eternal life. So the victory is already there. We just have to walk in that victory of Revelation. So I've learned that it's not so much doom and gloom as it is a victory story. So I've got a new appreciation for Revelations. And in this lesson today, again, we're coming out of Revelations chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. There was, I'm gonna go with this first. There's symbolism used in this lesson. And when you're gonna hear the terms lion and lamb, both used in this verse, or in these set of verses. And a lion and a lamb is talking about the same person. It's talking about Jesus Christ. So I know in your natural thought, we don't think of the lion and the lamb being how they can be synonymous with each other. So you think of the lion as being regal, being a king, being strong, being powerful, being in places of authority. But also you think of the lion as being a hunter, aggressive, taking prey. And then you think of the lamb as being meek and mild, and as being a sacrifice, or being at the bottom of the food chain, not needing to be protected. But in this lesson, the lion and the lamb is talking of the same person. So I'm gonna go through and start reading some of the scripture now, and then we'll get more into that. So this is from Revelation chapter 5, verse 1. It said, "Then I saw in the right hand of the one seated on the throne a scroll written on the inside and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming with a loud voice, 'Who is worthy to open and break the seals?' And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll and look into it. And I began to weep bitterly because no one was found worthy to open the scroll and to look into it. Then one of the elders said to me, 'Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals.' And then I saw between the throne and the 4 living creatures among the elders a lamb standing there that had been slaughtered, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into the earth. And he went and took the scroll from the right hand of the one who was seated on the throne. And when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell before the Lamb, each holding a harp and a golden bowl full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. They sing a new song, 'You are worthy to take the scroll and open its seals. For you were slaughtered, and your body, and by your blood you ransomed for God's saints from every tribe and every language and every people and every nation. And you have made them into a kingdom of priests serving our God, and they will reign forever.'" So you see that in these verses, you talk about the lion, which is about the Lion of Judah, and the Root of David. Well, you know that we've used those terms to talk about the lineage of Jesus, because he came out of the tribe of Judah, and root of David. And, you know, back at Judah was one of just Jacob's sons. And the way they describe Judah in Genesis was Judah was described as a lion. And they say that you are the lion's cub. You are the mighty one. You are the conqueror. You are the ones that will go out there. So out of that line of Judah, which is where out of Judah's lineage was the lion. He is the character. He is the king. So he is all those things. And he also came out of the root of David. So again, those were prophecies used before to tell of the lineage of Jesus Christ. And that root of David, you will find that in some words talking about that in out of Isaiah 11, verses 1, and talking about the Judah being the lion. That came out of Genesis 49, and looking through 8 through 10 was kind of talking about describing Judah as being the lion. So in this term, using the lion and the lamb to describe Jesus, even though it may sound to be conflicting, it is really of the truth. He gave his blood for us. He was slaughtered for us as a lamb. But he came to be a mighty king, to be the conqueror, to be the ruler of all. And when he talked about and get into talking about these 7 seals, that he was the only one strong enough, only one that had the right and ability to open the 7 seals. So when we look at even though they seem to be contrary to each other or conflicting, it is so right to describe Jesus' lineage as being both the lion and the lamb. And they're not in conflict with each other. And so again, I'll talk about this being an apocalyptic. A lot of times we use Revelation as saying that as an apocalyptic type of word or disclosure, or these chapters being more, people think of more as apocalyptic and doom and gloom in nature. But I just said before that this is more of a tale of victory than a tale of loss and a gloom. So it does say we're going to go through some things, but it's saying the victory's already won. It's just a matter of going through what has to go through and what has to come to get to that place. And I gave you those base words for what the apocalypse mean, and basically the apocalypse or this revelation is just to unveiling God's truth. And what we're talking about here when he said in verse 1, I saw in the right hand of the one seated on the throne. Now, we just went through Easter. And when you first look at the story, you look at, so how does this follow up with Easter? But this is the follow-up to Easter. Because what has happened here now is Christ has died on the cross. He's gone and taken rulership of the world. He's gone to the below and taken victory over death. He's taken total control. He's been revealed back on earth that he has been resurrected. And now he's gone back to the Father. He's gone back to the beginning where he started, because he is a part of the creation. So now he's back, saying, I saw in the right hand of the one seated on the throne. So now he's back in the presence of God. And there was a scroll written on the inside and on the back, sealed with the 7 seals. Now, I'll go back and look at this, talk about the scroll here. This scroll, from my studies, they say that a lot of people think of that as being the scroll of Ezekiel. Which you can look at, if you go back and sometime want to read through, look at Ezekiel chapter 2, 9 and 10, and it talks about the scroll that was handed down, that placed in Ezekiel's hand when he was made to be a prophet. It had all the wisdom, all the judgments there. And also it's mentioned again in Isaiah 29:11 was this scroll. So the scroll had God's judgments and all his care for the people written in that scroll. But there was no one worthy to open that until the lamb was slaughtered, until his blood was shed, until that sacrifice was made, that once and complete and worthy sacrifice. So that lamb now that was worthy, that had no sin, had been sacrificed, and his blood had been shed. And we spoke of that on his son when that blood was shed, when he died on the cross, the veil was ripped from top to bottom. So now we had that access. So now that once and complete sacrifice had been made, that was worthy to do this. And when the angels, in verse 2, it said the angels asked who was worthy to open the scroll and break its seals. And no one in heaven or earth or under the earth was able to open the scrolls and look into it. And then in verse 4 it said, I began to weep bitterly. And this is again, Revelation was written by John of Patmos. Some people say it's the same John as John in the film, but that gets into your religious studies and your different theologies on who these people are, because it's all about study there. But nevertheless, it's the word of God that was written. So this is John there, because he was taken up, and this, look back and look in the chapter before. If you look in some other revelations, they talk about how he was called up to this high place. So he's seeing all these things are being shown to him in the spirit. Because we talk all the time that God is a spirit. So all these things are happening to him in the spirit. He's not physically being taken to a place. He's been taken there in his spirit, and these things are being shown to him. So when John looked at it, he said, I weep bitterly because there was no one able to open it. So to say God's judgment and God's plan for the earth and God's destiny for us be sit there in the seals and no one be able to open it, you can understand why in his spirit, he felt bitter, and he felt like he needed to weep, because there was no one that was willing or able to read the judgment. But then the elder looked at him and said, do not weep, but see that the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Again, Judah was one of Jacob's 12 sons. Those are the 12 tribes of Israel. So Judah was one of those tribes, and then again I said Judah was described as being a lion. So out of that lineage of being a lion, of being a king, of being a ruler, of being the one that would conquer, came Jesus. And they say also out of a root of David. So again, this is coming out of the terms we use, the messianic names that were used for in the process of Jesus coming. These were terms used for to describe the Messiah coming, and all the prophecies that were given as a being from the root of David. And so see, the Lion of Judah and the root of David has conquered, so that the scroll and its 7 seals, so he can open the scroll and 7. So right now, as a lion, as a king, he is conquered. He's came and made his victory over Satan. He's taken control over sin. So he's now given us a reclamation or a reconnection with God through his shed blood. So he's conquered death. He's conquered all things to put us back in connection with God and to put us back in correct connection. So as a king, he is the mighty king. He is the mighty conqueror. He is the one that came. Yes, sir. try to tell people all the time to use, a lot of times when I read the Bible or start reading the story, if you put the word I in there, or me, it makes that connection a whole lot more real. Because when you can read the story, oh, he died for them or died for, but when you say he died for me, that makes it's personal. Yes. You should. Yes. Yeah. And then when you go back and read the story of what his torture, of the passion of Christ, and again, this is where study comes in. A lot of times, go a little deeper than just reading the verses. We talk about this in our daytime Bible study. A lot of times, you can read the verses, and on the surface, it seems, okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, they whipped him, and they say they whipped him with a cat of nine tails. But if you don't never go back and look up what a cat of nine tails is, and man, that is it's a brutal tool. It's a whip that has, they call it cat of nine tails because it has 9 strands to that whip. Yes, but it's not only just a whip, because we saw what they done to our ancestors with the slip hide. They ripped their flesh open with just a whip, and that was just the leather. But this had pieces of bone tied into it, pieces of glass tied into it, claws tied into it. So not only now did it hit and cut, when it hit and cut, it grabbed and ripped and tore. And to think, I know the little bit of pain I went through with this was really, I was on my pain pills for this. But you done all that with nothing. You took that pain, you absorbed it. Mother didn't say a word. Hallelujah. Ooh, Lord. Just think about it. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing compared to what he went through. Yeah. I was saying, yeah, you better not. I'm glad you got there. You better not, because usually the word come out of my mind first ain't that. I get to Jesus in a minute, but usually that's what I get. But you talked with Reverend Davis earlier about how somebody would die for me. I had sisters. I got 4 sisters, and I know how I had to fight for just my sisters and do things just like them. And even some of the stuff they got me into, and like, man, why y'all got me in this again? Why you got me out here in this seat doing it? So that was for a family that I sacrificed and fought for, and I didn't want to do it sometimes. So this is died for me that he did. I won't say he didn't know, because he knows all of us, but he died for even when he knew what kind of a mess you were, and had no personal relationship with him, because you hadn't come to him, man. So even before you had a relationship with him, he was willing to die for you, to endure that torture. Yeah, sometimes still do. I ain't gonna lie. And I say, yeah, Where that come from? Yeah. Well, that was one of the things I came to, in my revelation, I come to my senses into. A lot of things I went through and done in life, it was a part of my environment that brought me through it. Like, I'm not going to let them not make me do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. Even though you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do this. And I finally come in and say, I keep saying I'm going to do this. I did this. I'm going to make my way. And then you realize I ain't did nothing. Because God didn't wake you up every morning, didn't put that energy into you, that strength, that determination, that drive. I couldn't have done a thing by myself. It's only because by God's grace that only by what God put into me that I made it to where I am. Got me to understand it, got me to breathe and got to saying and I know this is off topic. I still think back to my childhood. We were brought up at church. I ain't gonna say we brought up in, so we were made to go to church. That didn't really mean you learn anything like that. You were there, but again, the word tells you to bring up a child and the way it should go, and he shall return. So we were there at church. We wasn't so much later that you got the understanding of church. You were just there. They made us go. But if they didn't go themselves, you gonna get out of bed. You were going to church. I don't feel and I don't care what you did on Friday night or Saturday night. You going to church Sunday morning. You out of that bed. You're not gonna lay there. And it wasn't an option. It wasn't no, yes, sir. So it wasn't no option at all on whether you was going or not. Again, I had one thing on my nose, and I was trying. When I talk about that root of David, it was out of Isaiah 11:1, in which I said, it said, a shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots, a branch will bear fruit. And then that's talking about the prophecy of Jesus coming out of the lineage of David. And even there, it describes in that verse there, it describes the sevenfold Spirit of God. That's back in Isaiah. And you get on into this lesson, you can talk about that sevenfold Spirit again. So from the beginning, this prophecy has been there, but there was no one worthy to open and take hold and fulfill the prophecy until he done what he done on the cross. So this is, like I say, it's coming out of Revelation, but it's an Easter story. It's a story of victory, of what he done on the cross. So he said now the root of David has conquered so that he can open the seven seals. So now he's done all the work. He's gone to the underworld. He's taken control of everything. He's gained the victory. Now he is able. But why is he able? Now when you get into verse 6, because then I saw between the throne and the four living creatures, among the elders, a lamb standing there, and it had the appearance of being slaughtered. So now I'll go back to that cross and what he looked like hanging on that cross. That's that slaughtered lamb. Flesh had been ripped. Even when his scalp was open, bloody, and ripped. And we think of thorns, we think of briar bushes. The thorns they put on his head were the 1-inch, 2-inch thorns. And they weren't nice when they put it on there and just laid it on top of his head and let it sit there. They pressed it down upon him. So you know what that lamb looked like, standing there. And they said it was standing there between the four creatures. And in my study here, the four creatures were talking about all the four different natures of God's being in heaven, earth, spirit, kingship. And again, you will see these four creatures described in different ways, but and now looking at it, says the four animals or the four living creatures were a lot of times described as the lion, which stands out of that kingship, that ruler. The ox, which is the servants and labor all creation. Man, which stands for humanity, and the eagle, which is spirituality. So we talk about the four natures of Christ. And it said the lamb standing there and having 7 horns. And we know we talk about horns a lot of times in the Bible as being power. We talk about the horn of David or the horn of God. It's talking about the strength of God. And we always use that. We use the term or the number 7 as a definition of completion. So not only did he have power, he had complete power. So now this lamb that's been slaughtered now has all the power. And it had the 7 eyes. And eyes, the thing about it is wisdom and knowledge. And be able to see the omnipresence of God, being able to know everything, see everything, and say. So not only he had the eyes, he had the 7 eyes. He had complete wisdom, complete knowledge, to be able to see everything, hold everything. And which were the 7 spirits that God sent out into the earth. Again, those spirits of wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, knowledge, fear of God, and the spirit of being God itself, being the Holy Spirit. So now this lamb that's been slaughtered has all power. He has all knowledge. He has the spirit of God in him. As a lamb, but he also had the power of the lion, so he's gone and conquered death. He's gone to the below world and taken the keys over life and death, over sin and life. So now we have that lamb that is a lion that has the ability to now open those seals, to now bring back the perfect will of God and what God wanted for his people, and what God had wanted from the very beginning was to reclaim his people, to redeem his people to him. So in that scroll that no one before Christ had the power to open is that redemption, is that reclamation of his kingdom, is that reclamation of us, of his children back to him. But it's through the sacrifice and power of Jesus Christ that this can now be accomplished. And it says in verse 8, verse 7, go to verse 7. Because all the things said now, because of who he is and because of that power, he was able to take, and he went and took the scroll from the right hand of the one who was seated on the throne. So now the Son of God, Jesus, our Savior, was able to receive that scroll, to receive the judgment of men, to receive God's plan for us, and to put it into play because of what he's done for us on the cross, because of being that sacrifice, but also not just being in weakness, but being in strength, be able to conquer death, conquer all things. And so when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell before the Lamb, each holding a golden bowls of incense, which are the prayers of the people. And this is where I got really interested in the story, because, you know, in the temple, when the priest went in, he had the censer, and that was what he waved, smoke to cover and let it rise. And those were symbolic of the prayers of the people rising to God, asking for the answer. But now, before the Lamb, the elders had that censer. They had it full of the incense. But what did it say there? But it had all the prayers of the saints. Fragrance. So now this king, this lion, this lamb that has been sacrificed. Before him now, they were able to send all our prayers directly. As we talk about that now, there's no longer a veil that you have to go behind. You have to tie a rope to him when he goes in to make sure he came back out again. There was no longer a lamb or a dove or anything had to be sacrificed, for that blood had been sacrificed once and for all. So he now has this access. Again, when it's just reading, I said, all the prayers of the people are now being lifted up directly because of what sacrifice he made. I said, boy, it might be out of Revelation, but this is Easter. Temple, yeah. Yeah. Amen. And also, it's talking this in this verse there, in verse 8, it says, the prayers of the saints play an important role in ensuring God's judgment. But if you go back at the verses I look at, I didn't write all the verses down, but it's out of Revelations 8, 1 through 6. It talks about how God's prayers of the people are being lifted up to him. So now there's not a once a year thing that's going to happen, where you have to wait until the day of atonement and cleanse the lamb and clean it out. Now you got that access with him at all times through. And this is where we get to verse 9, where they talk about the new song, which is the name of our Savior. So they're going to sing a new song. And the reason there's a new song, because all the old things now have passed away. The old songs ain't going to work no more. The stuff they've been talking about before ain't going to work no more. The Psalms of David, they were nice. Now you have a new song. You have direct access. So there's a new thing being done in Christ. Pastor Colin. Oh, I'm okay. So a new song, they will sing a new song, because you are worthy to take the scroll. For you were slaughtered, and your blood ransomed all God's saints. So something new had been done. It was no longer now the blood of a bull, or the blood of a dove. But that blood now had been shared once and for all, because Christ, that Lion of Judah, and that lamb had been sacrificed. And now we had once and for always been ransomed back. This was God's plan to redeem his people. So now at this point, God's people now have been redeemed back to him and have access to him at all times. And once you come to believe in Christ, now that Spirit lives in you now, that allows you access to him at all times. It allows now your dreams, your prayers, to be like that incense and censer to rise to him at all times. To be that. And this is the part here where it said, ransom y'all there, for God's saints from every tribe and from every language and from every people and nation. So now it's not only about the Israelites, it's about all of us. This is where it becomes personal to us. And now, because of what Christ did on the cross, because of being that lamb and shedding his blood for us, that pure and perfect lamb, not just any lamb, being that lamb that, as they talk about, that is worthy. the one that can open the scrolls and brings God's judgment and God's plan for his people into fruition because he had no sin. Because of that, all people now have access to God. It's just not for a few anymore. And that's one thing I got to go back and do in my study, because me and that 144,000, I still ain't got that. Yeah, that right there, the more I read, the more I get confused. Yeah. Yeah, 12 try there, but the more I read it, the more I get confused on it. Yeah, those ones that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're in the big number, but I know that. But I'll still be trying to figure out that, because you know there's religions that try to take that 144,000 and say that's all that's going to be there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Amen. So now again, because of that sacrifice, because of this lion that is a lamb, and I know that sounds a contradiction, but he is that lion that is a lamb. He has all power, but he's also meek and mild and went to a sacrifice for us. And then because it said, now you have made them, now talk about all of us, because of that, you have made them to be a kingdom and priests serving our God, and they will reign on the earth. So now we all become priests, the royal priesthood, the priests of God, the kingdom of God. We now become his priests on earth. We have access to him at all times. We don't have to go to someone else now to be appealed to God for us. We have that right and that power for ourselves. And that last part there, that last line out of this verse of Revelation should make you shout right there. It said, and they will reign on the earth forever. So he's taken all power and given it to us on this earth. So now we have all truth and all hope in Christ Jesus. I'm going to stop there because we're at the end of our time, but it was just, as I got more into this morning, I didn't even get into reading through some of the lesson stuff on this, because there's just so much in that to unpack from what I got there. And yeah, this was good, but I'll ask, read some of the background to go along with this, that goes along with this week. And that Revelations 21:9 that was in there, that talked about the how we living in the light of Christ at all times now. But now, because of who he is and what he is in our lives, when we come into his presence in the New Jerusalem, which is where we headed when Christ's kingdom come back down. Yes, ma'am. I can only give from my understanding. My understanding is everything we've done is going to be awaiting that balance. But you have salvation. That's the part to hold on to is you have your salvation in Christ. It's just where your reward, where you're going to land on that reward scale. But we all done some things, and we got to pay. You got to pay the penalty for the things you've done. No matter what we've done, there's going to be a price to pay for. You don't get out of, it's not monopoly. There's not a get out of jail free card. So you got to pay for your things, and we all got some things we got Gonna have to answer for. Like I said, I can only tell you from my understanding is, and that's just, it's gonna be everything. We're gonna have to take a recollection of all we've done. Yes, sir.